Don Rickles despised him more than anybody. Don Rickles was born Donald J. Rickles on May 8, 1926, in Queens, New York. Rose from humble beginnings to become a legendary 20th-century comedian and actor. Raised in the Jackson Heights neighborhood, Rickles was a Jewish family child who grew up with a quick tongue and a sharp wit that would one day become the hallmark of his career. His father, Max Rickles, was an insurance agent, and his mother was a stay-at-home mother who spoiled him and saw in him a sense of humor, even as a young boy. After high school, Rickles attended the American Academy of Dramatic Arts briefly, initially planning to become a serious actor. His aspiration was to be a dramatic Broadway or Hollywood actor, but his naturally quick-witted humor and keen observational abilities gradually steered him towards another avenue, stand-up comedy. After his stint in the U.S. Navy in World War II, in which he served as a seaman on the USS Irene in the Pacific Theater, Rickles returned home with a newfound sense of direction. Similar to many of the veterans from his generation, he initially found it difficult to find his place, but his inherent charm and charisma pushed him towards being an entertainer. By the early 1950s, he started gaining appearances in nightclubs as a struggling actor who would incorporate comedy as filler between lines. Once he noticed that audiences reacted more positively to his rapid-fire insults than his more serious forays into drama, Rickles went all in with comedy. It would alter his life forever and make an indelible impression upon the entertainment world. Rickles shortly thereafter created a distinctive niche for himself in the world of comedy. The majority of stand-up comedians at the time relied on delivering neatly constructed jokes or amusing anecdotes, whereas Rickles established a completely new style, insult comedy. He would take the stage and immediately start insulting members of the audience, no matter their background, occupation, or social standing. His quick wit exempted no one from Hollywood stars to common fans, and he earned a reputation as the man who could insult anyone but still be admired for it. His moniker, Mr. Warmth, was a fond irony that seized the reality that though his words were piercing, they were always spoken with benevolent humor and hidden love. The turning point of Rickles' early career arrived when Frank Sinatra, then one of the world's biggest stars, sat in on one of his performances in Miami. Rather than giving Sinatra respect, as virtually all performers would, Rickles stood on stage and openly insulted him, making humorous remarks about his power and status. Instead of being offended, Sinatra was enchanted and became a big supporter of Rickles, introducing him to other stars and solidifying his status within Hollywood's elite. This relationship not only boosted Rickles' career, but also highlighted his bravery and confidence, qualities that rendered his humor inescapable. Before long, Rickles appeared routinely on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson and variety shows such as the Dean Martin Celebrity Roasts, where his speed of insulting became the evening's main attraction. While stand-up comedy formed the bedrock of his career, Rickles was also an accomplished actor. He appeared in films such as Run Silent, Run Deep, 1958, alongside Clark Gable and Burt Lancaster, and later in comedic films like Kelly's Heroes, 1970, with Clint Eastwood. His ability to adapt to both serious roles and comedic ones demonstrated his range as a performer. During the 1970s, he appeared in his own TV sitcom, CPO Sharky, with his sharp wit and biting comments being directed into the character of a U.S. Navy Chief Petty Officer. He also became a recurring guest on talk shows, where he was popular for being as unpredictably funny as he was consistently generating laughter from even the most straight-faced host. Rickles' career got a boost during the 1990s and 2000s due to his voice acting as Mr. Potato Head for Pixar's innovative Toy Story series. A new generation of fans discovered him through his animation film work, where his characteristic sarcasm was excellently translated in the character. He also kept going on tour well into his 80s, performing in Las Vegas, Atlantic City, and throughout the United States, playing to crowds who loved his unapologetically old-school brand of comedy. Unlike so many of his generation, Rickles never revamped his act to appeal to modern sensitivities. Instead, he relied on the faith that his fans realized that his humor was delivered from a place of love, not malice. On March 14, 1965, Don Rickles wed Barbara Ackler of Philadelphia, a marriage that would be one of the longest-lasting and most defining of his private life. A man who had established himself as the merchant of venom in stage and television for his sharp, no-holds-barred sarcastic insults, Rickles frequently displayed a much gentler side in referring to Barbara. Their union was regarded by many of his peers as a stabilizing influence, anchoring him in a world where celebrity, ego, and career expectations tended to sabotage relationships. Rickles had candidly stated that it hadn't been easy for him to find love. He was in his 20s and 30s, a promising star on the comedy scene, yet he was a struggling romantic. His quick mind and acidic wit, much loved by audiences, tended to land him in hot water in close quarters, intimidating or disappointing would-be partners. At 38, he was a bachelor whose friends had all but given up hope of ever seeing him settle down. They met through his agent at a chance introduction that would alter the course of Rick's life. Ironically enough, Rickles admitted that what attracted him to Barbara was her inability, or maybe refusal, to laugh at his jokes. Unlike so many others who were hanging on his every witty remark, she was not impressed with his sense of humor, and this strange reaction fascinated him. To Rickles, Barbara's down-to-earth personality and inner strength were the antithesis of the superficiality of show business, and she proved to be the ideal mate for a man whose otherwise chaotic life was filled by the entertainment industry. Barbara and Rickles had 2 children together, Mindy and Larry, both of whom established themselves in the world of entertainment, though in separate ways. Mindy Rickles went into acting, emulating her father on camera, but with her own unique track and style. Larry Rickles, however, discovered his purpose working behind the camera as a producer. Sadly, Larry was taken away from the world when he passed away from pneumonia at 41. A heartbreaking loss to the Rickles family. Don and Barbara, faithful parents always, were totally devastated by his death. For a man who devoted a lifetime to bringing humor to others, the grief of losing a son was one of Rickles' most enduring regrets, a reminder of the fleeting nature of life, even in the face of fame and fortune. In spite of the tragedies, the joys of family life were always at the core of Rickles' heart. In his book, he said that his grandchildren, Ethan and Harrison Mann, provided him with a new and surprising insight into his own career. While adults marveled at his decades-long body of work, his myriad late-night performances, and his pioneering impact on comedy, his grandchildren were much more awed by something much more straightforward: his voice acting as Mr. Potato Head in the Toy Story movie franchise. For them, their grandfather wasn't the legendary insult comedian who had dueled Frank Sinatra or performed for presidents. He was the beloved toy from one of the most iconic animated films of their childhood. Rickles found humor and joy in this generational gap, often joking that all his years of hard work in comedy were eclipsed by a talking plastic potato.